1923 to 2020.
Voila! It's your brother, John Mack, aka Mindbender in the building, featuring who?
Melody Mack.
Melody Mack. So, we are going to attempt to do all kinds of different explanations tonight while having some drinks and shooting pool.
Explanation.
Yeah, explanations.
Okay.
So, we are masters in many arts, and I want to open up the dialogue a little more than just talking about commentary of entertainment and entertainers. I want to talk about science and math, small business, foundation, family, and all of the above. So maybe we can engage in small conversations that can become clips that will enable our prestige in the social commentary world to grow. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
All right, so we can do this a couple of ways. I can interview you and you can interview me, or we can interview back and forth.
Whatever's natural.
Not natural. We should have some sort of structure.
In
It's
a
important,
place like this?
especially in a place like this.
Okay, I guess.
Why would you say in a
Yeah.
place like this?
Well, because it seems so laid back in here. And so I guess an interview would be a little bit formal.
What do you mean? Laid back is what you would want, so you wouldn't have a lot of loud ruckus and talking
Yes,
in the
of course,
background.
but I'm saying it's a little bit formal to conduct an interview, whereas we could just have a conversation, right?
No. You can have a conversation anytime, and I think that there's specifics that people would like to know.
Like, what specifics?
Okay, so let's start with the commentary with this. What does it feel like to work in a strip club?
As an inexperienced person, it's a little intimidating. I don't know what it's like to work in the strip club as a stripper, but as a waitress, it can be a little intimidating because,
Now, that wouldn't be totally true, would it?
okay, so I danced twice. Once when I was 16, and then again when I was an adult. I don't remember how old I was. Maybe 30 something. Anyways, they sucked. Well, when I was 16, I made pretty good money for one set. But when I was an adult and I danced one night, I made less as a dancer than I did as a stripper. I mean, as a waitress. So, but you can chalk that up to the club I was at, too.
So, how does it differ from being a waitress to a stripper?
Well, there's a lot of different rules. Like, strippers can sit down and have a conversation with the customer and, shoot the shit and chum it up. Whereas a waitress, you take the order, maybe a little 2-minute conversation, and back to work. Because if not, then if you're not being called by another table, you're being called by a manager to get to work.
How much money can you make as a stripper as opposed to a waitress? And did you ever make more as a waitress than a stripper? And if you did, what were those amounts?
Yeah, I made more as a waitress for sure. Just even on a night-to-night basis. Now, like I said, the club that I danced at, it wasn't the best club. It wasn't the most popular club. There was a little hole in the wall, so there wasn't very many people or customers. And I was like, me and one other female that came with me, and then maybe 2 other females that were already there were the only ones there. So it was a good thing there wasn't any customers, because there wouldn't have been enough females to facilitate. But yes, I made a lot more as a waitress.
How much more? What's the most you made as a waitress?
I think I don't remember. I want to say 2 grand
2 grand as a waitress
in one night.
In one night.
Yeah.
That's pretty good money. But and as a dancer, how much did you make?
Oh, I made like $50 because
That's
there
it.
wasn't anybody in there.
$50.
Yeah, and then you got to tip out the bar, you got to tip out the waitresses and all that crap too.
So would you say, like, if you're not really the dancing type, or the super entertaining type,
Or if you don't want to get naked.
if you don't want to get naked, even though you have a good body,
Thank you.
How old are you, Mrs. Mack?
I am, how old am I? 43.
43 years old, and you look every bit of about 28.
Oh, thank you. Even with these little luggage right here.
Even with those little luggage right there. So
I'm tired. It's no
and
fair.
so longevity, years in the game, so many different styles and so many different hustles that was touched in our levels of understanding, not including, with every good time that's mentioned, there's a lot of bad times too, and there's a lot of painstaking moments throughout this business, and we'll get to some of those, but we'll continue on the dance tip right now. So as you were waitressing, were you ever harassed or groped?
Oh my gosh, yes, every night. Every night, because men always want what they can't have. So you constantly hear, how come waitresses are more attractive than the dancers? And let me see your boobs. And you walk away from a table and they flip up your skirt. I just got around it by charging them to see my boobs. I told them it was $40 a nipple, and they got to see a flash of my nipples for 3 seconds, and they couldn't touch.
Well, you're in a strip club, so isn't that kind of environment expected?
With the dancers, but not with waitresses, because we are fully clothed and expect to do a different job and held at different standards, and so it is to be expected, especially once men get drunk, but at the same time, not, because if we were going to get naked and show people our body, we would just have been a dancer.
But it's true that as a waitress, you were dressed very scantily clad. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, well, the uniform was either booty shorts or a mini skirt and a corset. So you had boobs popping out all over the place and ass popping out all over the place. I chose to wear a skirt. Wouldn't
you have preferred that, considering the high level of competition that was at the club that you were waitressing at? And
Definitely.
What was the name of that club?
Rick's Cabaret.
Where is that located?
The first Rick's Cabaret I worked at was on the west side of Fort Worth, over by the Air Force Base.
Okay.
And the other one I worked at was the new one they built over by DFW Airport.
And when you were 16?
Playmates.
Where was that at? Do they still exist?
No.
They no longer exist?
No.
What happened to them?
I'm not sure. Gary, the
Cowboy Stadium?
owner, no, because they were still open after that.
Okay.
Because on Great Southwest Parkway, they're not in danger of being knocked down because of the stadium. They're kind of far away from there, but not far, but a ways. I think the two brothers that owned Playmates, something happened to them. I'm not sure, but then after that, somebody else took it over, and it went from being a white patron rock and roll music type of bar to a hip hop black.
What was it like? What was it like in the club when you first started, as opposed to when you got to the point where you just didn't want a waitress anymore?
What was the difference?
Yeah, what was the difference in the feeling, the emotion, physically and mentally?
Well, when you first get a job, you are always, well, at least me, I can't speak for anybody else, but you always strive to show your best when you put your best foot forward when you go to work. And once you have that job and you're familiar with all the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts, you kind of get a little bit lax. It gets really easy, and then You know, you get tired of the men groping you and the dancers being tattletales and, you know, the other waitresses trying to steal your tables. So, you know, just those things alone gets pretty annoying.
It's deep.